Welcome to the very beginning of the RV/car hauler bus project. This is the point I hope to look back on in a couple of years and think, wow, really come a long way since then, and hopefully not, wow, that was really stupid. Why did I think I could pull that off? If you're unfamiliar with my plans for this project, I'm not going to describe them in this video because I made a separate video all about that. I'll throw up a link on the screen or in the description somewhere so you can go check that out. With the introduction out of the way, let's get started on part one, stripping down the bus to its bare bones so I can have a better look at how it all comes apart. Look at all this. What'd you do? Film the intro after doing all the work? Yes, that's exactly what I did. The very first thing to do on this entire project, and what will most likely be the majority of this video, is to begin stripping down the interior of the bus. As you can see, most of the seats in the bus have already been taken out. This was actually a little bit harder than you might think. While it's true that each seat was only held in by 8 bolts, 4 of these bolts go through the floor and are held in by nuts on the underside of the bus that are not captive. I had to ask a friend to come over with a wrench and crawl underneath the bus to hold each nut from the underside of the bus while I unbolted everything from the top for every single seat. Now, I do have 4 seats remaining in the front of the bus to tackle, but I'm not going to worry about taking them out all nice and properly and unscrewing them because there's an engine and transmission in the way of the nuts on the underside of the bus up there. So I'm just going to use a chopping device of some sort and take the seats out by force. There we go. Got it. Literally breaking bolts. The seats are out. What's next? The next step is to take out all the windows. Each window is just held in by 4 screws and all the caulk in the observable universe. I'm so exhausted. Got it. Tell you, just get really mad at it and it'll pop out. That's the last one. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take a nap now. Next up, more stripping. Time to undo billions of screws. That's one way to do it. With the Wally bits out, it's time to do some work that is frankly over my head. The ceiling. I just have to attack billions of more screws.
Don't follow me.
You're not listening very well. Old men sounds abound. All right, don't fall on me, don't fall on me. Ah, you fell on me. I didn't want you to do that. Got it. Please don't fall. Ah! This is not an OSHA-approved environment. Now I'm preparated to catch this one. Oh. Oh, God. It looks like a Ziploc full of used rubber gloves. I'm throwing that away. Oh! No door. Got it. Keep it up. The game's over. Come out with your hands up. There we go. There we go. A little vestige of the painting process here. You can tell on the outside that the bus was assembled and then painted. There's paint over the screws and everything, and apparently they just took the taillights out and spray painted some of the insulation right here. Fascinating. Now that the interior is all stripped down to its barest essentials, it's time for me to tackle the outside. Most of the rear of this bus, the rear 2/3 or so, is going to go away, but I don't really know what lies underneath this skin, so it's time to make like a TSA agent and do some exploratory stripping. Starting with these black bars here. There, the black runners on the side are now gone, and I think they're going to stay permanently off the bus. They only seem to serve two purposes, mainly that of aesthetics, but also just a little bit of structural reinforcement to the skin here. It's a little bit extra floppy now because all the screws that were holding the skin to the frame are now gone. And if I leave them off the side, then it'll have the added benefit of making the bus look a little bit less school bussy, and I can seal up all of these screw holes left behind by the runners that have been letting in rainwater for years. If I find out the skin is too floppy and does need some reinforcement, I can put runners on the inside of the skin between the frame rails and attach it to the skin using VHB tape or epoxy or something so I don't have any more screw holes to deal with. So yeah, on with taking off some of this back skin here. Now I feel like some real work's happening. We're getting down to the bare bones of the bus now. Too many B's in that sentence. It's getting to the point where I'm going to need an angle grinder rather than an impact driver to start taking things apart, because most of this, what you see here, is all welded together. You have the floor support here that's welded to the frame rails, that's welded to this bit, and this is actually the inner rail that the seats were mounted to, and I was disappointed when I took the seats out that this was welded to the frame, but now I can see it's a structural member and it needs to be welded to these frame rails. So this will all be very interesting to take apart. Now the entire rear of the bus is going to be going away because this is where the car hauler will be, but what I have yet to determine is if I will be able to leave the stock bus floor. I don't know if it's strong enough to hold cars. My guess is no, but I would like for it to be strong enough because it would be easier to leave that floor in place rather than fabricate an entire car hauler flatbed ramp section area from scratch. I'd just like to leave some of that structure there, but I might not be able to. Real quick, I'd like to answer a question that a lot of you have been asking. Why don't I leave the rear section of the bus intact and use it as an enclosed space to haul my cars, rather than chopping it all off, having a flatbed, and exposing the cars I'm hauling to the elements? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. The bus isn't wide enough. A typical car hauling trailer is 8.5 feet wide, and this bus is 7.5 feet wide. That means that, and I measured this, if I pull my pickup in there, I have only 4 inches to spare on either side with the mirrors folded in, which means I would drive the pickup in there and not be able to open the door and be trapped inside forever, which is not ideal. Not to mention there's the added benefits if I remove the walls and have just an open load bay that's exposed to the elements, I have no size limits anymore, so I could do things like haul a box truck if I so fancy. Also, I'm going to be removing all of this excess weight back here from the roof and the vertical supports and all of that stuff, which will increase my cargo capacity, which is a nice added bonus. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go do all this stripping a second time to the other side of the bus. Yay! That's going to do it for part 1. The bus is now stripped down enough that I can see the structure and how it all goes together, and now I need to take a step back for a while and take a long, hard think about how I want to proceed with this project before I do anything stupid or irreversible. So thank you for watching, and a sincere thank you to all my patrons who are allowing builds like this to happen. I'll see you next time.